All right, we're going to look at verses 1 through 3, 1 John 3. First of all, remember the idite here is a aorist. That's an aorist active imperative. That's a second plural. And remember your aorist stem there is going to take a present imperative ending. So that's just an aorist active imperative, second plural. Behold comes from horao. And then we've got what manner of, what sort of love the Father has given to us. And we see that reduplication there, and we see the kappa. And this is from just good old didomi. Usually when you see that do or da, something like that, you'll have didomi. But again, that's perfect, active indicative, third singular. That, and this is probably a content henna, telling us the content, this manner of love. It could be a result, though, resulting from God, the Father, having given to us, right, this love. But he says that, and of course we've got a subjunctive coming up, we know that children of God, we are called. Now this is from kaleo, and this is just an aorist passive subjunctive first plural. Aorist passive subjunctive first plural. We have that theta elongated vowel, and that kappa lambda is just usually indicative of or usually an indicator of kaleo. So children of God, we are called. Notice you have Apollonius's canon there with tekna theu. There's no article on either one. That children of God, we are called, and we are, right? Esmen, just present active indicative, first plural from ami. On account of this, the world, hakosmos, now I know that's my subject because it's nominative, the world, genoske. This is does not know, right? Just present active indicative, third singular from genosko. Does not know us, causal hati, because uk egno auton, it did not know him. Now put that in the past tense because this is gnosko, but it's going to be an aorist, active indicative, third singular. You see that gamma nu, you think gnosko, it's got an augment, it's aorist. Just don't let this ending throw you there. It's taking imperfect endings, right, in, on, s, e, but with the with gnosko and the aorist, it's eg, known, and then nos, no. So you have the nu, sigma, and then nothing, just like you would here. But instead of omicron or epsilon, you've got that omega. Okay. So third singular, aorist active indicative. Now let's move on and take a look at verse 2 here. Beloved, vocative there. Now, children of God, we are. And not yet, upo, ephanerothe. Now this is from phanerao. And you do have the augment, and you've got a theta, eta. So this is just, I'll put it right here. This is just aorist, passive indicative, third singular. Okay, and not yet revealed, manifested. It has not been manifested. It is not yet revealed. And then te is an interrogative. It's neuter. So what? Esametha, we will be. And remember that esametha. Let me see if I can try out my eraser here. Make a little room. So, yeah, and this is a future middle indicative, first plural from ami. And not yet revealed what we will be. Oida, man, we know, of course that's from oida, just a present active indicative first plural. And we know that content, and again, this aeon is going to be functioning like when, not if. When phanerothe, now what do you expect with aeon? You're looking for that subjunctive, and you've got the theta eta here. So this is an aorist passive subjunctive third singular. And when he is revealed, talking about Jesus, homoioi, like auto him, and this is just an adjective that takes a dative, and that's why when we see auto in the dative. Like him, es ametha. You just had that, right? We will be. Hati, because apsametha, and this is from horao. Sometimes you'll see blepo as the lexical form as well. But it's opsomai. It's probably the way you remember seeing it in elementary Greek. So you see opsomai, it's a middle only verb. So it just has that first plural, opsametha, right? So just future middle indicative first plural from horao. Because we will see, right? We will see him just as estin he is. From ami, just present active indicative third singular. All right, now we're looking at verse 3, and get my now. There we go. And everyone who has, and this is coming from, of course, I've got my attributive there, pas. And then ha-ekon is just from echo. And you see that on, of course, that's your participle ending, on, usa, an, antas. So yeah, just good old nominative, masculine, singular, present, active participle. And we know that's a substantive. We've seen that a bunch. And everyone having the hope, elpida, and then we have tau 10. Notice in that predicate position, and that's what a demonstrative will do. So it's just this hope. Everyone having this hope, ep auto, and I believe this is talking about Jesus. I know Baal sees this, he may take this a different way, but I don't see grammatically any problem with this, seeing that flexibility of epi here. Epi plus the dative, and everyone having this hope. We could say on him or in him, speaking about Jesus. And everyone who has this hope, agnidze heautan. Agnidzo, I think I said, that's a rough breathing. Agnidzo, okay? And just a present active indicative, third singular. And of course, this is a reflexive pronoun here, so pretty straightforward there. He purifies himself, right? Just as ekenas, agnos, estin, just as, and this literally would be that one is pure. But John has a tendency to use ekenas, or the demonstrative, for pronouns, for personal pronouns. So we probably just want to say just as he is pure. So, and everyone having this hope in him purifies himself just as he is pure, referring to Jesus. Okay, just a few quick things by way of review. Keep in mind that in verse 16 we noted sarkas. This is just reviewing for the the quiz. Remember, that is a subjective genitive. Subjective genitive. And the idea there is you have a head noun and then you have a genitive, right? And the thing to keep in mind with a subjective genitive or an objective genitive, when you have those options, this is going to have a verbal idea. There'll be a verbal idea in the head noun. Your love of God, that type of thing. And with a subjective genitive, the genitive is going to be functioning as a subject of this verbal idea. So just keep in mind, the subject, the love of God. The subject would be God in that sense, would be doing the loving. If it were an objective genitive, the genitive is going to function as the object of that verbal idea in the head noun. So love of God, that love would be going toward the subject, going toward the genitive in that sense. So subjective genitive versus an objective genitive. In this sense, sarkos, I think it's epithumia, a desire of the flesh. In that sense, that's a subjective genitive. Keep in mind verse 19 is a second class conditional clause. Remember, you usually will have a, and then in the latter part of the sentence called the apodosis, you're going to have typically that on particle, or possibly aon, and that's not always there, but typically. And this is a contrary to fact statement. So it'd be something that is not true in this case. First class would be assumed true for the sake of argument. This kind of construction would be contrary to fact. So yeah, like what was the example I used? Yeah, if Jesus is being anointed, the Pharisee sees the woman anointing him, and he says, if this man were a prophet, and it's obvious he's not, he would know what kind of woman this is. Second class condition clause. Verse 26, let me see if I can fit this in here. Verse 26, keep in mind the participle there in verse 26, tone, known tone, because that's a genitive from planao, and so participle, those who are deceiving you. But remember, we talked about that being a conative, having a conative sense, a conative verb, and that just means those who are trying to deceive you. So it has a sense of attempting but not completed. Those who are trying to deceive you. And let me try that again. But those who are trying to deceive you is the idea there. Attempting or trying. And then also in that same verse, you have humin. And just note that that is just a simple dative indirect object there. Dative indirect object. And finally, and I'm running out of room here. Let's see here. I know where else to put this. Maybe I could just put that right here. Remember that when we talk about henna, there are three ways we can understand that, and I just want you to keep that in mind for the quiz. Purpose, result, and content. And of course, context is always going to be the key there, but just keep those three in mind for the quiz.